I'm Carrie, and this is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Thanks for joining me. All right, today's article, it's about Parent Plus loans. Really, I've been wanting to do this particular video for a while because I absolutely hate Parent Plus loans. I think they're incredibly predatory. This is an article that's from 2020, which is still really relevant today, especially as we know that in 2023, the student loan payments will be starting up again, even if it doesn't start up until as late as August, but they will be starting up. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at this article, and I'll do commentary most likely throughout the article. This article is actually very lengthy, and you know me, I don't like to post and read the entire article because it gets into a lot of politics and, you know, more examples with other, you know, people and stuff, and so I like to keep it pretty much to the gist of the article. So I'm going to do that, but I'll have the link to the article in the description. All right, here we go. So let's talk about Parent Plus loans and why I absolutely hate them. And this article is a prime example. Here we go. This is by NBC News, and it's called Parent Plus Loans Are Bearing Families in College Debt. All right, Jay Rife was sitting in his pickup truck on the outskirts of Las Vegas when he answered a phone call that would change permanently his life. A man from the federal government was on the line and told him that the loan he had taken out so his son and daughter could go to college had come due. The monthly payment was $1,200. All right, one of the issues that I have with Parent Plus loans is there is really, I don't know if it's, to me, it's so predatory. They are unable to some extent to be able to tell you exactly what the dollar amount is that you're going to owe, because Parent Plus loans have special fees and interest rates attached to them that are not on a standard student loan. So whereas a standard student loan, you might not actually start paying interest. You won't typically. You typically don't pay interest till after you've graduated. Usually there's a grace period of, you know, maybe 3 to 6 months. A Parent Plus loan, that interest can start racking up the day that check is cut to you. So that's something to keep in mind. So the fact that this father, this husband and wife team, they were shocked about the $1,200 monthly payment tells you right there that no information was given to them up front as to how much they were actually going to be paying. Now, it's easy for us to say, well, you know, they were, you know, kind of ostriches and they buried their head in the sand. Yeah, that's partly true. I've been there, done that, so I understand that. But I think a lot of the times also, unfortunately, it has to deal with the socioeconomics of the people getting the loan. How much exposure have they had to college programs, to college funding programs? And a lot of people that wind up in trouble with Parent Plus loans, not the only people, of course, okay, but a lot of people can be people from the lower income bracket where perhaps you're dealing with first generation, or also you're dealing with parents who may have been educated, but it's been so long since they've gone to school, their perception or their idea of how easy or not easy it is to pay off a college loan, it has totally changed, okay? There are people today who still think you can just work a part-time job and go to school and you're going to be all good. If you've got a large trust fund you're coming with in college, you can probably do that. Today's student, I don't believe, can simply work a part-time job like I did and maybe kick in a student study job, go to school, and I came out with my bachelor's degree with no debt, all right? Not the same, of course, with my master's, but, you know, that's another story. All right, okay, so here we go. So their monthly payment was $1,200, and, of course, they were very shocked about it because apparently they had not discussed with anybody. And one of the things we are also told is that when you are taking out debt, just like if you were taking out a car or mortgage or anything else, you really should know what your payment is going to be before you take out the loan. And in most cases, we do know that. But isn't it funny that when it comes to student loans, however, that's something we don't know? It's almost like it's forgiven, it's excused that when we take out a student loan, we really aren't going to know what the numbers are until after the program is done, and then we'll figure it out later, okay? And perhaps, you know, be panicking. I thought I was going to pass out, said Rife, who was making $13 an hour as a maintenance worker. I hung up the phone and just kind of sat there for an hour trying to figure out what I was going to do. He didn't want to tell his wife, Tina, hoping to protect her from the possibility of being plunged into poverty, but it wasn't a secret he could keep. I think we both sat and cried for a while over it, said Jay, now 64. $13 an hour. I said this in a video earlier that I made probably a couple weeks ago. Taking out any sort of student loan, we need to start looking at student loan as cash advances on future earnings. I think sometimes the word student loan almost makes the debt seem like it's so easily dismissed. We say credit card debt. Well, shame. We even say mortgage debt. Well, your goal, pay it off, okay? But when we say student loan debt on $13 an hour, oh, well, how is it that a person making $13 an hour can take out a huge student loan debt, but I know trying to get my mortgage, and fortunately I do make more than $13 an hour, okay? Not much, but I do make more than that, and yet I was put through the ringer on getting a mortgage, okay? We don't put parents through the ringer, and I mean that in a polite way, of course, okay? But imagine if we vetted parents and even students, but since this is about the Parent Plus loan, let's talk about the parent. We'll keep it to just the Parent Plus. But imagine if we vetted parents to take out Parent Plus loan debt the same way we vet parents before they can get a car, the same way we vet them, especially before they get a mortgage. Think about that. You can go bankrupt on a mortgage, and we're going to vet you inside and out. We're going to look. I know when I got my mortgage a couple of years back, they wanted me to pull up my entire bank account. It almost felt invasive. But we don't do that with student loans when it comes to Parent Plus. Why? Why don't we do that? I'll address that later as we get into the article. So I think we both sat and cried for a while over it, said Jay, now 64. Jay and Tina owe more than $100,000 in Parent Plus loans, including interest. I did block out their faces because I didn't feel that was necessary for this article. 18 years after that phone call, the couple lives paycheck to paycheck, still struggling to scrape together the monthly fee. 18 years. Enough to raise another child completely, in full. And that's the problem. 18 years. This student loan can be around easily longer than people's mortgages. Yet we vet people up one side, down the other for a mortgage that they can go bankrupt on. They can give it back to the bank. They can foreclose on it, whatever. But we don't do that with student loans. We don't do that. So 18 years later, they're still scraping. And in all honesty, if they were making $13 when the kids were entering college, they're probably not making that much more now. And considering this article is 2020 with the pandemic and stuff, that I don't know if a situation could go from bad to worse, but it is possible. I feel like I'm stuck in it until I die, he said, sitting next to his wife, whose face draws down in disbelief when they discuss it. The couple's original $40,000 loan to cover the cost of sending their son and daughter to public universities in Indiana, where the family lived at the time, has snowballed in those 18 years, with interest rates as high as 8.5%. Their bill now stands at more than $100,000. This very much reminds me of my $85,000 loan that grew to $110,000 over the 16 years that I had it. People sit there and they can go, how is it that you can keep a bill around that long? Well, there are multiple reasons, okay? And sometimes I think the reason goes beyond just the money aspect of it. Yes, it's obviously the money aspect. Do you have the cash, the green dollar bills to pay it off? But there's another mentality. That is the acceptance of student loans in people's lives. It's the fact that we say, oh, you know what? Everybody has a student loan. It's okay for you to get one. We're just going to kind of laugh it off. We're going to chuckle it off. When you throw up your graduation hat in the air, it's a party for a day, maybe even a party for, 6 months until the bill comes. We excuse it. We dismiss it. Imagine if we did the same thing with mortgages. Oh, it's okay if you go into foreclosure. And in some ways, in the 2007-2008 market, All right, that's almost what happened. It was like, hey, you know what? You're going into foreclosure. Everybody's going into foreclosure. We're all in it together. There's an acceptance that there's a herd mentality, in my opinion, that we just simply accept that if you're in college, or even if you have a child in college, that student loans are just fine, and that's just the way the world works, and we're all happy about it. But in reality, it's not fine. Especially when you have parents making $13 an hour taking out a $40,000 loan. There is no bank in their right mind that I know of that would even approve a mortgage for half of that. Yeah, a $20,000 mortgage. Would they even give the couple a $20,000 mortgage? Nope. If they told them they were making $13 an hour. Okay? We fail to see the logic, or maybe some of us fail to see the logic. We approve student loans so easily. We dismiss the debt so easily and just say, oh, it's okay. It's all good. We'll figure it out later. This is what keeps the student loan around for years and years. Because a student loan can be delayed through forbearance. It can be delayed until after the child graduates from college. It can be delayed because of a pandemic, all right? And that's part of what keeps it around for so long. It's not just the acceptance of it, but after a while, it's kind of like brush your teeth, wash your face, pay your student loan bill. You pay it for years and years. And after a while, it becomes so much a part of your daily life. Yeah, it's a part you don't want, but it just becomes a part of it. It literally is that ball and chain that goes with you everywhere. And that's part of the reason a student loan can stick around for so long. I had mine for 16 years. Okay. It became a part of everything that I did. Where I moved, where I moved, where I lived. It just becomes a part of it. And it's that acceptance and the fact that it becomes a part of your everyday life that pretty soon a student loan that you had around for 5 years now becomes 10, 15, 20. There's a reason they have 20 and 25-year payment plans for student loans. All right, so yeah, think about that. So I'm not surprised a $40,000 bill became $100,000 over 18 years, just like now that I understand my student loan better that was forgiven in August 2022, I understand how an $85,000 bill can become $110,000. It's not because I didn't want to pay it off. I didn't have the funds, and I just kept making the minimum payment on it. The Rice would have lost their house if they had been forced to make the original monthly payment, so they negotiated with federal government to get it down to $733 per month. Still, it's more than their mortgage, and it doesn't cover the interest, so the amount owed has continued to grow. Jay and Tina are among the 3.5 million parents who have federal loans designed for families who don't have the money to send their kids to college. Even when students take out their own loans, the Parent Plus loan program enables parents to borrow more to meet the full cost of college. All right, let's back up there to the first paragraph. So they would have been forced to lose their house if they had not been able to basically negotiate with the federal government. Really what they did, it appears, is they went on a, income-based, actually may even be a little bit more than just income-based, but that's $733 a month, okay? If it's not covering the interest, and you've been watching this channel, we all know what's going to happen, even when it's forgiven after 20, 25 years of payment. What's going to happen, folks? It's just going to become a big old IRS bill. Now, we could say the IRS bill is better. Maybe a $20,000 IRS bill is bigger than $100,000, or what will be even probably more than that by now because it's 2022. But again, it's just one bill, it's out of the, pan into the fire, okay? So in this case, it's just going to become a big old IRS bill after they get done. Okay, so they're among 3.5 million parents who have federal loans because they don't have the money to send their kids to college. I'm not a parent. So I'm not going to be able to claim that I understand exactly how a parent feels, but I am an educator and I have plenty of friends who are parents. And having had 3 college degrees myself, I have a lot of experience in the world of student loans and colleges. And I will tell you this, I don't think parents should go broke to send their kids to college. I don't think they should. Now, maybe I got that view from my mom. I was blessed. My I was able at the time, of course, it's in the 80s when college was a whole lot cheaper, okay? It was a lot more affordable, let's put it that way. But I remember even my mom saying, hey, we can't afford this private school that you want to go to, so you need to pick a school closer to home. And I changed from Reed College, which was in Portland, to the University of Oregon. This is in the mid 80s, okay? I graduated 89. But I remember my mom just flat saying, look, we can't afford this. You've got to change it. Families who don't have the money to send their kids to college is part of the reason I hate the Parent Plus loan program, because it's one thing to not have the money to send your kids to college, but it's another thing to have a program but not explain the terms of the program really clearly to parents, especially low-income parents. But let's be very clear, there are plenty of higher income, wage-earning parents, intelligent, all of that stuff, that have gotten suckered into Parent Plus programs that they can't get out of either. So we should not think that this program only affects people of low income. It affects tons and tons of middle and possibly even some upper income. So we need to remember that. So moving on, these families now collectively owe the government more than $98 billion, up from $68 billion 5 years ago, when the government releases yearly student loan figures, which are astronomical in their own right. It omits the amount parents have borrowed, obscuring the true financial crisis for families. From 2003 to 2016, the average combined student and parent debt for Plus borrowers was nearly $38,000, according to analysis by the liberal think tank New America. Part of what pushes up those numbers are the government's interest rates, which are higher than private banks. They've averaged more than 7% over the past decade. On top of that, the government charges parents an additional fee of more than 4% of the total loan, and the terms are relatively unforgiving. The government makes money off Parent Plus loans, according to the Congressional Budget Office, also known as CBO. This is another issue I have with Parent Plus loans. I think the only thing worse than a private loan, that's from a company like Sallie Mae, which for some reason, a lot of people think that Sallie Mae is federal government. No, they're not. Sallie Mae is 100% private. At one time, they switched to Navy and all that, and they were managing federal student loans. They were just managing the paperwork. But make no mistake, Sallie Mae is a private student loan with a whole long laundry list of complaints. So just keep that in mind. But the only thing worse, I think, than probably a Sallie Mae loan would be the Parent Plus loan. The fees that Parent Plus loans have, this fee of talking about 4%, the fees of interest starting just as soon as that check is cut. This stuff is not easily explained to the everyday lay person, to the everyday $13 an hour parent that comes in and says, look, I just want my kid to graduate from college. I want my kid to be the first one to do something that nobody in our family has ever done. Or I just want to fulfill my parents' dream. We're a middle class family, maybe even upper class family. We just want to fulfill our parents' dream. We may be out of touch with the type of loan programs there are today. We may be out of touch with how hard and how many hours you actually have to work to pay off these loans. We just want to get the kid through college. Well, the Parent Plus loan, I encourage every single parent to read about it upside down, up one side and down the other, and read it backwards and forwards, because the Parent Plus loan is like no other type of loan you can take out. It's a loan that simply, in my opinion, it can destroy you financially, such as it basically has this couple. 13 years later, he's in his mid-60s. I'm assuming he's getting ready to retire. And this loan is $60,000 higher than it was when he started taking out the loan 18 years ago. Unlike student loans, with Parent Plus, it's difficult to get a payment plan based on a family's income. That means that if a parent loses a job or suffers a significant pay cut, they may be stuck with monthly bills that they cannot afford. More than 1 in 8 parents will default on the loans, according to the most recent government estimates. Nonetheless, colleges and universities continue to offer parents the loans, and Congress allows them to borrow, even when administrators can see from a family's financial records that they have little possibility of repaying them. All right, let's stop. Let's go back up to that first paragraph, okay? Unlike student loans with Parent Plus, it's difficult to get a payment plan. Yes, it is. And this is part of the reason that Parent Plus loans are so financially damaging to households. Because if your child had taken out, your student, okay? If your child had taken out their own student loan, and they lose their job, your child loses their job, that student loan can be adjusted even all the way down to 0%. A lot of people mistakenly take out a Parent Plus loan thinking that it's going to hold the same perks, the same benefits, the same legal rights as if their child had taken out the loan themselves. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Okay, so you need to remember that Parent Plus loans carry none of those perks. And this is, in my opinion, is one of the reasons, along with many others, that makes the Parent Plus loan so financially dangerous. And I'm going to say dangerous. You know, when a parent takes out a loan for the kid's college on a Parent Plus, I don't think most parents are assuming that that loan's going to be around 18 years later and the bill is going to be $60,000 higher. I really don't think most parents are thinking that. But unfortunately, on a Parent Plus loan, you lose your job. You're the parent. That loan is in your name. It's a Parent Plus. Guess what? There are no income adjustments, and especially ones that can be easily adjusted on an annual basis. Whereas if your child had taken out the loan every year on their on their tax, on their IRS form, they show how much they made. Student loans can be adjusted to a reasonable income base. Now, of course, we're still in with the IRS bill later, but we'll put that part aside. But on a month-to-month basis, on an annual basis, when the child takes out the loan in their name, and they're federal loans, let's remember this, federal, not private, not Sallie Mae or those other private companies, okay, but federal loans, okay, that income, the yearly income is reported to the IRS, and your child gets their payment adjusted. I know when I had it, my payment, I think at a high, the absolute high, once I got onto the income-based program, the high was $365 and the low was down to as low as $200, I want to say right around $210, but it was all adjusted on my income. Parent Plus loans don't get that perk. You lose your job as a parent and you're set for, this couple, $733 a month. They're still expected to pay $733 a month. And this is something that's not explained to parents. And parents don't even, and I think part of the reason it's not explained is parents don't even know to ask the questions. What is it that they say? Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And this is where Parent Plus loans are so incredibly sneaky, and why I don't like them. You know, people will say, well, why don't the parents just ask this stuff? Because sometimes you don't even know to ask it. You don't know what you don't know. And this is why I think it's so important that every single parent, before they take out a loan, and with your child if need be, because you are going to be taking out the loan on behalf of your child. Every single parent, every single child that has a parent that's going to take out a loan needs to sit down together, and you need to research it, because it's only in researching it then you will start to find out that, oh wow, I didn't know, honey, that there was going to be a 4% fee. I did not know that interest starts the minute the loan check is cut. I was unaware that there is no 6-month grace period, yada yada, okay? The Parent Plus program was originally designed for higher income parents for use at private colleges, and repaying was seldom a problem. As the cost of public education rose, more low and middle income families began seeking the loans, desperate to give their children a shot at a secure future. But family debt load soon increased as well, according to federal data, raising the question on whether loans that were ostensibly created to help parents are actually doing the opposite. More than 200,000 families who made less than $40,000 a year took out a Parent Plus loan in 2016 alone, an increase of more than a third from 2008. So you can only imagine what those debts must be like at this point in 2022. So let's take a look here. So the Parent Plus loan was originally designed for wealthier people, higher income earners, people that could afford to take out a $40,000 loan and, like jokingly say, wait until the trust fund shows up, okay? But that's what the Parent Plus loan was originally designed for. But like all good things, all right, unfortunately, when it hits the mainstream, the tensions may have been there, all right, the intentions may have been there, but clearly it did not work the same. If you are trying to compare a high income earner, and when I think of high income earner, I'm not even thinking in terms of necessarily six figures, but maybe even beyond that. Somebody who makes six figures being, not even 100,000. I'm thinking high income, 200,000, 3, 4, 500,000. The people who could easily just write a check, at least for the most part, okay, I mean, I'm not a high income earner, but they wouldn't struggle at $13 an hour to try to pay off a $40,000 loan. All right. So high income earners, people who basically the government said, no problem. We can just lend you 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever. You earn such a high income, you can have it paid off in just a few years. They weren't thinking in terms of the $13 an hour parent, okay, or the single mom, single dad, okay, struggling to try to get through stuff. That wasn't what the Parent Plus loan was intended for. And the fact that so many parents are in debt to the loan, the fact that Parent Plus loans can stick around for 18 years and still not be paid off, and the bill only continues to go higher and higher and higher, shows you very clearly that the Parent Plus loan has outserved its purpose. It's not doing what it was supposed to do, and that was help parents get their kids through college, but then, I assume, quickly pay the bill off. There's a bird tweeting above my car, so hopefully that's not too annoying. I think the bird's having a good day. All right, so let's move on to the next page. There is currently no limit on the amount parents can borrow as long as the money is used for college-related expenses. We'll get back to that. Now, there's a big white space here. That's just the way it came out. When I copied and pasted, there's nothing missing there, just so you know. We've set parents up for a disaster when they are trying to do the best for their kids but end up in financial crisis, says Justin Drager, President and CEO of the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. We've now saddled many parents with unimaginable amounts of debt. Yeah, there's no limit. Again, sometimes parents don't know what they don't know. Therefore, they cannot ask the questions. And even if they become suspicious, and I've been there, so I'm not blaming parents at all, because I've been there. Even when I go, I'm not really sure I can afford this, but if I can come up with enough excuses in my mind to go, oh yeah, it's all good, it'll just get handled. If I can delay and convince myself that I'm delaying in my best interest, and I can ignore the actual bill that's coming in. Now, did I sit there intentionally and go, hey, let's see if I can't delay the student loan bill and ignore it? No, it doesn't work like that. I think it rarely does. I think the way it really works is I really have this goal that I want to obtain, and I'm going to need all the help to get the said goal met. So I'm just going to kind of, cover up my eyes, cover up my ears, and I'm just going to do everything I possibly can to meet this goal. Even if a part of me says there's a red flag and that we might be in danger, I'm going to ignore it because I'm not in danger right now, and any danger that I face in the future, well, I'll just deal with that later. After all, this is a student loan, and everybody has student loans, right? The wife's daughter, Stacy Johnson, now 41, got a good job as a nurse after she graduated. She is managing her own student loan payments, raising a family, and sending her parents what money she can to help them out. It pains her to know that her 63-year-old mother, who has become disabled and can no longer work, goes without health insurance so her parents can make the loan payments. Okay, so where to start on this page. First off, the daughter got a good job as a nurse. Is it a good job as a nurse, however, if your parents are unable to pay the bill that took you to be a nurse? Remember in one of my videos earlier, I'll, if I can remember, I don't always remember, but if I can remember, I'll link it at the end, when I talked to you about, red flags, all right? And I was talking about public service work. And a red flag is, can the student loan bill be paid? Do you make enough to pay off the bill? What's it going to cost to get this education? How long is it going to take to pay the bill off? If the education exceeds what you're ever going to be able to make to pay it off, is it really a good job? It may be your dream job. It may be what your passion is. It may be what your career interest is. But is the job a really good paying job? When your parents are broke, you can't afford to pay off the loan, and neither can your parents. I've always been taught that you're not out of debt until the bill is paid. So yeah, you got a job, but technically the job's never paid enough for you to pay off your parents and what it took for them to get you that job. We ignore that part of math, in my opinion, too much. We ignore that. We sit and we go, well, yeah, but I got a good paying job. It's like when in a video that I did earlier, and I was talking about, I was so happy because I decided to go get a master's degree in education because it was going to give me, a $4,000 a year pay raise. But I didn't really sit down and do the math of what was I actually going to be taking home, and it came out to something like, 250. I don't remember the exact math quote that I used in the video, so please forgive me. But I want to say it was around $250, $275 a month extra is all I was actually taking home. Okay. So when we say they have a good job, well, what is a good job if it leaves the people in poverty that had to help you get that job? And if that job as a nurse never pays her enough to pay off her parents, okay, it's a fun job for you. It's a job that you're passionate about, but was it a good paying job? It's about the math. And I think that's something that my $110,000 student loan that I carried around for 16 years, starting at $85,000. And I carried it around from 2006 until just August 2022. I realized we have to look at student loan as the math. We need to stop ignoring the math of the student loan. So she says she got a good job as a nurse. And my opinion today, no, it's not a good job. It's your hobby. It's not your hobby. It's your career, and you're passionate about it, and you do it very good at, and you do very well at it. But if that job never pays you enough to pay off the student loan debt, well, then that debt could have just as easily been her debt instead of her parents' debt. So we got to start looking at the math, people. We got to stop being in denial about the math when it comes to student loan debt. All right. Something else to think about with Parent Plus loans. When parents take out Parent Plus loans, okay, they were 18 years younger. Let's just round it off to 20 years younger because I'm bad at math in my head. So they were in their 40s, all right? Mid to late 40s when they took out the loan. Something you have to think about. And again, I'm just talking from my own experience over 16 years, and I look at my medical condition. Wow, in 16 years, I've had 2 different knee surgeries. I've diagnosed with osteoporosis, a few other medical ills. Wow. So oftentimes, I think parents, when they take out these Parent Plus loans, parents, you've got to be thinking about what is your age at the time of the loan and what's potential medical risks and conditions do you face in the future. And if you take out this Parent Plus loan, how is that going to hurt you? She's saying here that her 63-year-old mother who has become disabled. Yeah, this is over 18 years they've had this loan. 18 years. A lot happens medically in 18 years. A parent can say, yeah, I'm going to take out a Parent Plus loan in their mid-40s, but ask yourself honestly, what's it going to take to pay it off? How much do you make? And I'm the type of person, I don't believe in basing current bills on future income. I don't believe in saying, well, I'm at this pay check now, so I believe that, 10 years from now, I should be making an extra, 20%, whatever, okay? I'm just making up a figure. I don't believe in doing that. I believe in looking at, this is the income I make today. If my income never goes up, and these conditions happen over the life of a loan, I could be sunk. So she became disabled during the 18 years. These are things that are not considered when parents sign on the line for a Parent Plus loan. And there are things that need to be considered. So now her blessed mother is without medical insurance because they have to pay the $733 a month on the Parent Plus loan. People have got to stop and think about the future, not just, and I don't think it's selfish. I don't think it is selfish for parents to say, you know what, honey, your mom's rounding the corner 50, and we believe that, and it is true, the kids have more time to make up the debt than the parents do. The kids simply have more time. They have on average, less chance of medical issues. They have less chance of, being forced into early retirement, whatever, okay? Parents don't have that, all right? Parents don't have that type of time. Next page. Financial aid officers at several universities said it is standard practice to offer a Parent Plus loan when they send out an acceptance and financial aid offer. They said they often know that the parents taking out the loans will struggle to repay them. Okay, that's the end of that article. The article is very, very long. That's just the end of what I'm going to read. Okay, so is it not somewhat sneaky when at the end of every financial aid offer, there's a, hey, let's go ahead and fill out a Parent Plus loan application offer underneath it. And I can pretty much guarantee that underneath that application offer, they do not clearly explain what's going to happen. And if you don't pay the loan. And here's the thing. I think part of the reason they don't explain it is really clear. Most parents, not saying all, okay, there's never an all to any one student loan situation. Most parents have assets. We have to remember that like they said earlier in the article, Parent Plus loans were originally for whom? It was for the people who were considered well-to-do, upper class, yada, yada, okay? They have assets. Those people have assets. But the problem is you're taking the same issues from the top. Okay, we have these people with the money, the assets. We're going to give them unlimited Parent Plus loans, okay? But we're going to apply those same benefits to people with half that income, a quarter that income, whatever, okay? This doesn't work. It's a recipe for disaster. You can't give people making $13, $20, $25 an hour, okay? You can't give them the same rules and expectations and expect them to be successful and follow through on the bill when the rules and expectations were written for people who were considered the high wage earners. We cannot sit there and like, well, golly, Aunt Martha, I'm so surprised that it didn't work. Well, of course it's not going to work. You've got rules and expectations of, the very wealthy, and you're expecting the very poor to live by those same standards. It's not going to work. And no one's done anything to address the program on that. Now, again, like I said, we can sit and we can blame the parents all day, but, blaming parents all day is, what good is that going to do? They've already taken out the loan. They've already signed on the line. But something that parents need to be aware of is the government has basically unfettered access to get their money back. And part of their tactics can be to wage garnish you. And a lot of people don't know this, but like if a creditor with a credit card bill wage garnishes you, they have to go to court, they have to get a judgment, all of that stuff. And depending upon the bill, they may not even choose to do that because, your $2,000 isn't worth their attorney time and court time and all that. Creditors for credit cards have to go through a lot of steps to be able to wage garnish you. Federal government does not need to do that. You took out a federal loan, the federal government can just simply garnish you. They don't need to go through the legal loopholes. Also, the federal government, to get their money back on Parent Plus loans and even non-Parent Plus loans too, if you owe student loans, but we are going to stick strictly to the discussion of Parent Plus. But keep in mind, this can happen with just regular, you're the student and you took out the student loan. If you don't pay it during retirement, they can garnish your Social Security. Okay, and I believe that's 15%. And it wouldn't even surprise me if over time the laws on that percentage change and goes up. All right, that's just maybe the pessimistic part of me, but right now it's at 15%. They can attach liens and anything else to property. And I think this is part of the reason that really wasn't considered a big deal at the time, in my opinion, the program came out, because who was the program for? It was for the wealthy. Okay, the wealthy had the assets to attach to it if you didn't pay the bill. So the wealthy pretty much paid the bill, and then somebody said, hey, you know what, this is working for the rich, let's give it to the middle class and the poorer folk. But yet we're going to hold them by the same rules and the same standards of payback. Well, this doesn't work. So anyways, there are a lot of technical reasons, deeper than I really wish to go into for a YouTube video, to be totally honest, about Parent Plus loans. But if you simply go on to the federal aid, the FAFSA or the studentaid.gov website, or just go into Google and type in Parent Plus loans, rules and regulations, okay, you'll see it pop up right up there on Google on the internet. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that parents can do that will hurt not just their child, but will especially hurt the parent, is to take out a Parent Plus loan, not realizing that nobody at the federal government is vetting you to see if you can pay off the loan. It's not like when you take out a mortgage and your bank says to you, all right, you are okay for this amount of house and your payment, we've done the math and we figured out you can pay this much back. All right, that's not the way the Parent Plus loan works. The Parent Plus loan is, okay, you short 50, 60, 80, 100. I watched a story the other day on the Dave Ramsey talk show host, a single mom, 2 kids. She's in Parent Plus loan debt for almost $400,000. I think it's $360,000 to be exact. So when we're talking about Parent Plus loan has no limit, people, it has no limit. Pretty much the sky's the limit. And of course, Parent Plus loans are taken after all scholarships and federal loans have been absorbed. And then whatever the difference is becomes eligible for the Parent Plus. So if you're sending your kid to private school on a Parent Plus loan, I would strongly encourage that you rethink that thought and perhaps maybe go to a state school. But keep in mind that the school that your child is applying to, there's an interest in not telling you exactly how the Parent Plus loan works. Because the school obviously wants the dollars. Part of the reason college is so high, because there are no limits to, how much college tuition can cost. The school does not have a financial interest to sit down and explain to you just how a Parent Plus loan could possibly damage your retirement, how it can put your house and other assets at risk, how, you can wind up with, you've got your own Parent Plus loan, plus then you've got the child with their own debt and all of that. And the other thing with Parent Plus loans to remember, a lot of students, a lot of people think, well, you know what, I'll just transfer this loan in time to my child and my child can take it over once either they're, once they're out of school and maybe my child had a small student loan or even a big student loan. But once my child has cleared their student loan, then I'll just go ahead and transfer that Parent Plus loan over to my child. And my child's totally fine with that. I would tell you to rethink that, because for the most part, for a Parent Plus loan to even be transferred to a student, first off, I don't think it can, because the loan is in your name as the parent, okay? But even if you were to find a way to transfer it, basically your child would have to show that they don't need the loan to begin with. It's kind of like, well, if I need a loan, I wouldn't be standing here applying for a loan. Okay. But a lot of parents wrongly think that it'll be really easy. They think of it kind of like if they co-sign a loan. Okay. Almost the same thing, which is another video. But it's almost like, well, yeah, I've got a Parent Plus loan, but my child won't have a problem paying me back, or my child won't have a problem taking out a loan that will be enough to cover the Parent Plus loan. So when usually that's not the case. Usually the child has a lot of trouble, just like the parent does, paying their loan back. And usually the child is in shock themselves, going, oh, gee, I had no idea my student loan was going to be that much. So remember, paying it off through transfers or assuming that your child's not going to have a hard time getting their own loan that would allow your Parent Plus loan to be paid off, it's never as easy as it seems. Never, ever as easy as it seems. So anyways, I don't dislike Parent Plus loans if the parent has a way, if the parent has enough asset where they could just wipe out the bill. That's where I would absolutely have no problem with the Parent Plus loan. Okay, you take out $40,000 to help your child, but you have enough assets, okay? Stocks, interest, retirement, savings, life insurance policies, whatever, all right? You have enough asset that if you had to cash out part of your assets without damaging your retirement, without damaging your own personal living and that of your other children and your spouse, okay? If you've got enough assets that you could, in essence, just wipe out that loan, like here's a check for it, we're done, then I think the Parent Plus loan is great. But I think when you're making $13 an hour and you're taking out a $40,000 loan, when no bank would give you a mortgage under those conditions, then I think parents need to be really careful that if the bank wouldn't even give it to you, you should be asking yourself, well, why would the federal government give it to you? Really simple, because they can take anything else from you that you have now and in the future to pay off that debt, and they know that. So I just don't want parents to fall for that and think that it's going to be so simple. It's never as simple as it seems. And I encourage every parent, before they take out a Parent Plus loan, do your research. And that includes going onto YouTube, and I'm the type that'll type in things like the horrors of Parent Plus loans, the dangers of Parent Plus loans, and find out the benefits of it, okay? Because depending upon your financial situation, there might be some really great benefits that you'll be able to have because of it. You might not have to, you might not have to break an interest-bearing CD account, or have to close a stock option or whatever that you had. Okay, you might be able to keep that, but I think the biggest thing is when the child graduates, how much asset do you have to pay off that loan? And if you don't have the assets to pay off that loan really fast and without doing harm to yourself or other family members, then I really, really think that perhaps maybe your child needs to reconsider the school that they go to. And if that means canceling private school for a state school, fine. If it means going to community college for 2 years and then going to a in-state college, that's fine also, okay? Because part of, in my opinion, teaching kids is that you can't always have everything you want. All right, you have to consider the effects that it has on other people as well. All right, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit Chat. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you will consider subscribing, and have a great day. Bye.